Okay, right, live in a sec. Hey, welcome to Falcraft Cast. I'm Hammy. Hope you're well and good. And Goblins vs. Gnomes is live. We are going to be running through a little bit of an introduction to Mech Mage, a different type of deck that's coming up. I'm taking a look at none other than B. Kibler's version. So all credit to the good sir himself. But we're going to be tweaking it a bit because, as always, we don't always have all cards, and probably neither will most people out there, unless you're buying straight in. So without further ado, let's jump in and take a look at Mech Mage and what might be, or is indeed already having been seen on the ladder as being a bit of a new archetype. So firstly, to understand Mech Mage, we're going to see where this deck is coming from. Yeah, that's kind of a very early game deck. So you can see that we're really wanting to win very, very much in the early to mid game. This is a slight variation on some of the decks that are out there, so do not take this as a gospel. We're going to test this one for ourselves and see how it works out. So firstly, we'll run through and get a bit of an idea as to how the deck can run, and then secondly, we'll go and test it out in casual mode or on the ladder to see the deck in practice. So number one, mechs. The synergy with mechs and mage. How does this work? Well, firstly, with the mechs and Goblins vs. Gnomes, you've got things like the Mech Warper that allows you to rush in a bunch of mechs cheaply. We are very much rushing here. The Clockwork Gnome giving us spare parts, and a spare part being a 1 mana card that we can use to buff one of our other cards. A lot of this synergizes well with the Mana Worm. You can see that we've got the cheap spells that we're going to be throwing around, and Mana Worm gets buffed for 1 attack for every mech spare part that we play. So remember that Mana Worm benefits from us playing 1 mana spare parts. Very, very nice indeed. Doesn't have to just be the first turn. We can throw this down and throw spare parts down on top of it and after it to make it bigger and uglier. Then you have things like the Micro Machine. Start of each turn gaining 1 attack. It can be a little tank in itself. The Snow Chugger is a mini water elemental and will help freeze out not only big nasty minions that our opponents have, but also enemy weapon swinging heroes against warriors, paladins, rogues and similar. It's really going to irritate them. Sorcerer's Apprentice means that we can play effectively Let Us Not Forget free spare parts. Very nice there. And then moving into the Spider Tank, if we manage to Mech Warper out a Spider Tank, 3 attack and 4 health, that's a really bulky, annoying body indeed. Welcome Moldy, good to see you. And welcome to all of you live. We are of course live on twitch.tv/Falcraftcast. You should come join us sometime if you're on YouTube. Come join us sometime. So the Spider Tank, returning to our draft, is a really bulky, nasty minion that, if we can accelerate out in the early game, will really help us take control of the board and will be pretty handy against anyone who is sort of rushing against us similarly as well. So it's going to be real, real nice. Then into the Tinkertown Technician. The Tinkertown Technician, as we take a look at it, actually will buff up our other mech, because we can grab a spare part, we can drop that mech spare part on one of our other mechs, or indeed any of our other cards if we want. But also, if we have a mech, then this becomes a 3 mana 4 attack 4 health. For those of you following along, the deck that I actually have built in this column, this is not Mr. Kibler's deck in its entirety, but it is inspired by his deck. So 2 Tinkertown Technicians, when we get mechs down in the early to mid game, then we'll throw those down and that will compound our early game advantage. Now I've dropped in an Echo of Medivh. This was played against me along with a duplicate, so we will see how it runs. Echo of Medivh, putting a copy of each friendly minion into my hand. Someone played this deck against me, and they played an Echo of Medivh as a mage, and they just picked up all of their mechs and threw them all back down again. And I thought, you know what, I want to experiment with that combo. A lot of the pro guys, or a lot of the big streamers, are not running this Echo of Medivh, but some have tried it, some haven't tried it. There's pros, there's cons. I want to give it a go. Hey, we're in the expansion, let's see how it goes. But I think that if we can pick up an additional one of all of our little cards and throw them down again, that will give us a real nice rush potential. Fireballs, we are going to be using these probably to nuke off the table anything big that gets in our way. Because of this deck, and because of the pressure that we're going to be applying with our early game mechs, we're rushing with mechs, we're hitting to the face with mechs, we're trying to make good trades in the early game. Fireball is not really a card that we're going to be hitting to the face with, I think, too often. It might be a nice finisher, but what we really want to, if we see a Fireball, and it's worth noting that a lot of people running this deck run Archmage and Todonias, says Hammy, trying to pronounce the Archmage's name himself. So a lot of people are running... Ooh, where's the Archmage? Where is he? Where is he? Show me the legendaries. Oh, I can't believe it. Antidonias is not actually a legendary. No, it's because I'm in the Goblins vs. Gnomes set. All sets. Okay, there's Enter Denice. So a lot of these mage decks, these mech mages, are running Enter Denice, and Enter Denice is the Antonidas. I'm going to go with Antonidas. Antonidas is the finisher. So I've swapped something in for Antonidas, but a lot of these decks running with this guy as the finisher. You can see whenever you cast a spell, add a fireball to your hand. You throw down a fireball, whatever spell you throw. If I throw a spare part is a 1 mana spell, and I get a free fireball. So spare parts go really, really well with Antonidas. You're throwing down 1 mana spells and you're getting big fireball nukes in return. So if you have an Antonidas, he should really go into this deck. He's really, really good. Synergizes so well with the rest of the deck. Okay, back to the deck itself. We've only got the 1 polymorph. You might run 2. And again, this is kind of like the fireballs. We're saving these for anything that gets online in our way. So polymorph will hopefully nuke something out of the way for us. Let's get rid of a nasty big minion. And again, this comes in and out of various people's versions of decks, but I'm running with an Hearthstone Mech because I'm lacking some of the big legendaries in the late game, which is pretty normal. But the Hearthstone Mech, if we've thrown down a bunch of early game mechs, we've got a bunch of little minions rushing in the early game, then imagine what happens if we give them Wind Fury, Taunt, or Divine Shield. I'm kind of happy with any of those. And remember that it's 1 effect per minion, and it could be a different effect for each minion. You're not guaranteed all Wind Furies, all Taunts, or all Divine Shields. It just throws out random effects, which is a bunch of fun. But again, let's give it a go, see how it goes. 2 Goblin Blast Mages. I think this card is fairly obvious. If you have a mech, deal 4 damage, randomly split them on all enemies. If I have at least 1 mech on the table, then I'm getting a 5/4 card for 4 mana. It may well get traded off the table, but I also get an additional 4 damage. And the sheer mana efficiency of that card for 4 mana, if I have a mech on the table, not only can I potentially do 3 next turn. Oh, I'm pointing at the wrong card there. Not only can I potentially do 5 next turn if it doesn't get taken off the table, but I also get that random 4 damage. If I'm playing against rush decks, it will soften things up. It should give me a chance to get something off the table as well, maybe a little bit of table clearance. 2 Mechanical Yetis. Well, if we're able to play those turn 3 with a Mech Warper, then that is effectively a Chillwind Yeti, the most brilliant basic in all the land, but a mechanical version that you can get out earlier. And the Death Rattle, okay, if each player gets a spare part, that can be awkward, but hopefully you're causing pain with the Yeti way before then. Last but not least, 2 Piloted Shredders. These are mechs again. Imagine if we can grab those out a turn early with Mech Warper for attack 3 health, for 3 mana. Absolutely crazy. Really, really nice indeed. Now, that is our version of this deck. Now, I've switched out 3 cards between the Bee Kibler version, or one of the versions that you'll see making the rounds, and I'll explain just a little what they are. In fact, now I've switched out more than 3 cards. I've switched out 5 cards between my version and theirs. So let's explain where those cards are and why. Unstable Portal I've left in for the fun. There is a good argument to say that Unstable Portal, as nice as it is to get a random minion and it costs 3 less, it's not really running with the mech theme. There's probably better spend of those cards that you could grab. And indeed, if you wanted to go for a direct substitution, swap in 2 Harvest Golems. They go really well with the whole mech theme here, because you can ramp those out early. The Harvest Golem is now a mech, so I would consider, we're going to play a fun version, but consider swapping out or in 2 Harvest Golems for those 2 Unstable Portals. I just love the idea of the Unstable Portal. Next, the other substitution that I have in here is the Echo of Medivh, and that is in there, I do believe, for brain. One of Gazlowe, Toshley, or Antonidas, Archmage Antonidas, that we already had a look at. I then also have the Hearthstone Mech, and that's for another one of those as well. And that, I think, completes the substitutions. We have those 3 swaps for the 3 swaps. So finally, before we jump in and show you how this deck rolls, I'm just going to quickly show you the legendaries that we're missing, so you can understand how they complement this deck and work as finishes. So at the moment, this deck charges in the early game with huge pressure, and then it has Gazlowe in the original version. Whenever you cast a 1 mana spell, add a random mech to your hand. Well, hey, with Gazlowe, if we've got spare parts, whenever you cast a spare part, add a random mech to your hand. That means you can cycle more mechs and more mechs and more mechs. It means that you can keep the mech rush coming with Gazlowe by throwing down the spare parts that you generate from your other mechs. So Gazlowe, a great legendary to have in. Toshley, Battlecry and Death Rattle, had a spare part card to your hand. Well, not only is Toshley solid, and look at these new goblins and Gnomes, indeed, are 6 mana drops. So they're still keeping the rush theme. They're doing really, really well in terms of cards that we can play nice and quick. And then you play Gazlowe, you play Toshley, and then you move into Antonidas, and then you can be cycling your spare parts. So those 3 legendaries are actually the 6 mana, 6 mana, and 7 mana legendaries that cap out this deck. And instead, we've tried to find ways of regenerating minions with Echo of Medivh. Unstable Portal we could just swap out, and I'm tempted, even if you wanted to swap out Unstable Portal, or I wanted to swap out that Hearthstone Mechano. In fact, 4 is quite congested. Let's try it with an Hearthstone Mechano, but again I would probably consider perhaps swapping that out. What I saw played to clinically good effect in this deck as well, which I'll show you now, was Duplicate. So let's just take a quick look at Duplicate. When a friendly minion dies, put 2 copies in your hand. Brilliant. If I've got mechs, one of my mechs dies, my opponent kills one of my mechs, I get 2 of that mech back. In actual fact, do I want to be going for the randomness of the Mechano, or do I want to be going for the Duplicate? I'm actually going to go for a Duplicate. So that is our deck. What is our tactic? Well, we've smoothed off the mana curve a bit. Remember, if we were playing Beakerbil's original version, then we would have 2 6-drops and a 7-drop as well. So we'd have a late game. Here we have no late game. It's go big or go home. So in the early game, we want to try and be getting out Clockwork Gnomes into Mech Warpers, into big things, grabbing control, charging in with our mechs, duplicating an Echo of Medivh to continue the pressure, throwing down the Blast Mages, and really we need to be, our finishers are kind of the mechanical Yetis and Shredders. So this is a really intense early game rush version of this deck. If we don't win by about turn 6, then we're just dead. There's no way around it, we are doomed. But it's a really good way of just basically showing how mechs can work. You know, mechs have been born into Goblins vs Gnomes. They're very aggressive and very early game. So this should be a good illustration of mechs in action. All of the good things about them, or maybe a few of the tougher things about them as well. So while I quickly just grab, I'm going to grab the deck list so we can pop it in our right hand column so you can review it as we go. I will of course also, for those YouTubers there, link the deck that we've taken as inspiration. Mech Mage. I'll link that in the chat again for you to take a look at as well. And a big welcome to Mr. Bellatrix joining us as well. Zoo Mage with mechs, says Lud. Pretty much, Lud, pretty much. Righty then. Okay, game time. So my ladder's going okay. Tell you what we'll do is we'll get the hang of this in casual, and there's nothing wrong with getting the hang of it in casual. Some might call me a coward, but there's nothing cowardly about playing in casual. Casual will let us test out this deck, see its good points and its bad points. We know that it's a little bit rough around the edges. We know that it's not quite to the standard that some other people are playing. So it'll be a good way to see how this works, how it doesn't work, and show off all of the bait. You saw nothing here. Okay, I'm going to have to do a little cut there for YouTube. Okay folks, so we've taken a look at how that deck is put together. Now let's jump in and try a couple of casual games with Mech Mage to see how this rolls through. So we even tinker as we go. Remember that we are lacking 3 big legendaries to finish off this game, so our deck is ever so skewed towards the early game. We either win in the early game or we die trying. How does our mulligan strategy for this work? Well, I'm not really up for a sorcerer. I'm not really up for any of those. What I want to be drawing into is my small mechs. So I'm going to go for a full mulligan and look to see if we can grab Clockwork Gnomes, Mana Worms and similar. Don't mind a Mana Worm. At least it gives me a turn 1 drop. And in fact, a Mana Worm into a Frostbolt, not so bad. They won't actually know that I'm running mechs, but obviously I would rather have my mechs up and running ASAP. Hopefully I can draw into a mech next turn. Okay, Unstable Ghoul going down. Echo of Medivh there, very nice. And I can just, this is cool, so I can zap this, 2 for 3. Down that goes, 1 damage, charge for 2. Next turn. So this is not our ideal start. We would really have loved, considering the amount of little mechs we have, we would have liked some mechs. Oh, 2 of those in a row. Double Unstable Ghoul. Very, very painful indeed. So what do we want to be going for? I think a Spider Tank is a good drop at this point in time. Because if we charge into that with this, it's going to be dying. I'm quite happy to have my Spider Tank. I can then Tinker Town Technician next go. I could even Echo of Medivh and pick everything up to throw it down. Fire Blast. Fire Blaster. Out comes a mirror image. So the spider tank will help us do some trashing. Okay, there's the mech warper finally. So sadly the Tinkertown Technician is not a mech warper, but if we have a mech we gain 1/1 and a spare part to our hand, or do we go for 2 snow chuggers? Chugger. Let's get the mech rush going. There we go. Okay, so we're now in a nice position. My Tinkertown Technician will get into play. It's 1 more turn later than we originally anticipated, but then we'll get a 4/4 Tinkertown Technician with a spare part. Oh, there's a Water Elemental though. That's going to be really nasty. We'll see what we can do with that. Oh, should we or should we not Unstable Portal? Should I just Echo of Medivh for maximum evality? This is going to be an obvious target. He'll want to take out my Mech Warper. Let's take a risk on the Tinkertown and see what we get for a spare part. Freeze a minion! Oh, look at that! Brilliant! Emergency Coolant. And that emergency coolant we're going to use straight on the big and nasty minion that wished us ill and harm. Ooh, now, okay, not that freezing the mage would have done huge amounts, of course, but I could have swung the Snow Chugger into the hero. Worth bearing in mind if you're playing against a weapon-bearing class. I would have much rather that the Snow Chugger freezed the enemy hero, because in that case, if they did get a weapon next turn, they wouldn't be able to use it. And look at that emergency coolant. Should have killed the ghoul before putting down the minions. Very good call. Very good call indeed. Black Hamlet. Why throw down minions to get damaged? It happens to the best of us. Okay, so he's managed to stick up another 2 tanks with mirror image. Should I start going... Now, I could Echo of Medivh for maximum evality, or I could start Unstable Portaling. I'm going to Echo of Medivh, I think. Look at this. Now look, for 4 mana, I get all of those. And look at this. The beauty of this, can you see the beauty of this? That with my Mech Warper on the table, all of these are so cheap. I can actually throw down 2 of these this turn, and I'm going to do that. Chugga. So, sorry, I had my little chugging moment. Now I'm actually going to sacrifice Tinkertown because chugga. There we go. Tinkertown is not quite dead. He is frozen, but then I get an entire new board of mechs. So this is a really nice illustration of, even though this isn't the full-on deck that some people are playing, just how this mech mechanic can work really nicely in the early to mid-game. You can see, obviously a Flame Strike doing 4 damage to all my minions would wipe me out at this point, but if I'd been able to attack to the face a bit more, you can see exactly how much I managed to grab control of the table, and using that Echo of Medivh actually. Oh, down goes a secret. Just a single Fire Blast as well. You guys can choose. Is it going to be Unstable Portals or mechs? Right, so I've got a couple of mech warpers, so my mechs are like free. I'm going to take the risk to start with. Let's see what this secret is. Vaporize. Ah, it's an Ice Bearer. Free mechs. So we managed to get these down, of course, with Echo of Medivh, but we do have 2 mech warpers in our deck anyway, so I have the benefit of, like, look, I can just play a free mech. A 1 mana spider tank. I can play Tinkertown Technician. Oh, look at this. And then Whirling Blade, give a minion 1 attack. So I'm going to save that just in case. Now, this is the kind of thing I would have played with an Antidonias. It looks way too powerful, says Lud. It's not. Various things will give it a hard time. It is not the all-singing, all-dancing wonder that you think it might be. I'm going to Unstable Portal. Come on! Oh, an anodized Robocub. I can do both actually, Black Cat's very true. There goes the Flame Strike. And that is why, Lud, it is not unfair. You see that Flame Strike just wiped out my dream, and we're going to have to start again. But I have a free Robocub, so it's not all bad. That's a Druid card, but we're playing it as a mage. Second Unstable Portal. What are we going to get? Oh, an Ancient Brewmaster. For 1 mana. Why not? Let's pick him up. Is he actually going to cost mana now? That would suck. Oh, failure. Okay. I'll play our Robocub again. There we go. Yeah, do that. Now I'm saving these in case I've got something I can buff with them. the pain of the flame strike. So these are all of our mechs from Goblins vs Gnomes charging in. I hope you've at least seen the carnage that this can cause. We'll try and squeeze in one final game after this. My paladin failed aside. Out comes a frostbolt. Our mage has now established himself. With that sludge belcher in the way, it's going to be hard for us to punch through. But we draw into a piloted shredder, so the mechs just keep on rolling. I'm actually going to polymorph this to keep our tempo going. Down goes the shredder. I'm going to trade away my little Robocub. Now, of course, that Brewmaster is going to get pinged for 1 by our enemy's hero power, I would imagine. Getting into the late game, so we've not really won the game perhaps as early as we could have done. Arcane Intellect coming in, our mage picking up a couple. And of course, at this point in the game, this is where if we had Gazlowe, Toshley, Archmage, Antidonice, we would have been throwing these down rather than these other cards. In comes an Iron Beacon, he will silence my Shredder, so I don't get the second value minion out of it. And here is the other synergy that would go well with Gazlowe and Toshley. Now look, I now get free freeness. So actually, I'm not going to attack with that. What I'm going to do is I'm going to take that back to my hand, I'm going to play it back down again, and I've got round to silence. So spare part benefits, loving it. And then finally, what do I want to get? I'm going to give my Shredder 1 attack, because why not? But because we're into the late game now, if our mage has any late game cards, it's going to be really hard for me with all my little to medium cards to deal with them. That's the main thing. You can see all of these belches and things going down. I've already used my polymorph. Down go these secrets. I don't really have much in terms of counters for all of this. You see, like, I may have some Goblin Blast Mages, maybe some Mechanical Yetis that haven't turned up just yet, but you can see we've pretty much cycled through most of that rest of the deck, so in a bit of trouble. Fire Blast comes in. Sorcerer's Apprentice takes a little bit of pain. Clockwork Gnome hits the table. Well, let's see what this does. Okay, Pyrus. Oh, Nat Pago, look at that, we just got a legendary. Oh, duplicate. Friendly minion dies, gets 2 into his hand. Ugh, so he's just going to be throwing those down. But he's going to try and go for my Nat Pago, because he's going to want to draw some cards. So I'm going to take that out to try and keep Nat Pago alive, because the one thing I really do need right now is card draw. Look at that. Of all of the legendaries to summon, Golden Nat Pago from my Shredder. Loving it indeed. Fire Blastu! And that is a great example of how Flame Cannon is awesome. There's nothing else on the table apart from 1 minion, then Flame Cannon is not random. So you remember I said we need to use fireballs to destroy things that are in our way. Well, everything's in our way because we got nothing. Then comes a Belcher. Okay, I think we can probably safely say this is game. It will be hard for me to get back from this. Might be a bit of a challenge, but we'll see how we go. In come the fireballs and blasts, getting attacked by a measly little slime for some damage. Tinkertown Technician's not going to do loads at this stage. Do you know what, guys? I think in the interests of getting another game in, let us tap out and say, very well played indeed. Okay, so that shows a few things. We're going to play one more game, but what we're going to do is try and learn from that game a bit and think, right, okay, what worked well, what didn't work so well. I understand, I'm in 2 minds about Unstable Portal. Let's, for the spirit of scientific inquiry, get rid of those unstable portals and look to the late game to see what we can drop in to give us a bit more late game punch. Because we were really struggling when it just came to, well, doing anything beyond the initial mech rush, but the initial mech rush worked really, really well. So let's go in and have a look and see what we've got. Well, certainly we could buff up, we could look to buff up perhaps our shredders. We could add some more shredders. Could work well. We could go for some belchers to sort of solidify and tank up our late game, or we could just go in for some pure finishers. I'm going to go for Goblin Mech just for fun, and then maybe a piloted Sky Golem as well for a finish. So I could have gone and picked like a bigger thing. We could have just gone for like a Faux Reaper or a Ragnaros or something like that. In fact, I like Faux Reaper. Faux Reaper's also a mech. Let's do that. But I want Gelbin. I'm going to leave Gelbin in because Gelbin will be fun. So a quick switch there. That aside, I liked Echo of Medivh. I like the duplicate never really triggered for us. So we could say that duplicate is a little too situational. The Echo of Medivh did the job. So for that reason, I'm going to leave the Echo of Medivh. Maybe let's go up to 2 Echo of Medivh if we've got 2 of those. We do. Okay, there's our little tweak. So in come the Faux Reaper and an extra Echo of Medivh. And let us play one more casual game. Operation Legend is go again. Now that Goblins vs Gnomes is out, we'll have a little stab at Legend. Okay, we're playing someone called, I just want to say this person's name, Tony Swag. Swag YOLO. Right, a Snow Chugger, a Tinkertown Tech. I'm going to trade back Gelbin. We're playing a Priest. I don't mind having a Snow Chugger. Let's keep that in. And in comes a Spider Tank. I just want to give people the joys of this Goblins vs Gnomes board. Oh, I think it was the Right Honourable Thrash himself that taught us this. Go on. Ah, there we go. Direct hits. Lock it. Rocket, take off. Take off of the rocket, off of the board. Okay. Snow Chugger, 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 Chugger. Don't see anything wrong with that. So would have preferred. Now we actually see the Goblin Blast Mage show up on this occasion. Tinkertown Tech next turn. Goblin Blast Mage turn after that. Just need to make sure we're careful with the Priest. And careful if any Dark Cultists or similar hit the table. PWS. Shielding up. Drawing cards. Throwing coins. Going to attack me and then he's going to hit himself. So Swampoo is okay. Actually rushing a couple of minions down. Very interesting. Obviously I'm not going to be able to trade that square off the table. Pretty much a Spider or a Tinkertown. I think the Tinkertown Tech, because that will give me some nice trading options. The Whirling Blades, I obviously can't play that right now. Do I just go for a straight trade with the use? Chugga 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 chugga. Yeah. Chugga 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 chugga. Favourite card. Chugga 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 chugga. So you can see our rush in this game hasn't gone off quite as well as it did in the other game. Most sadly. But the Thought Steal always a pain, Priest's always causing us some pain. Right, Sorcerer's Apprentice means we can start playing free things. I could just nuke out a Fireball. Just nuke that away with a Fireball. So tempting. In fact, why the heck not? For Tinkertown, but I've still got my Blast Mage. Still do not have a mech on the table. Ooh, but we've got Mana Worm, Sorcerer's Apprentice, Synergy, Madness. Throw that down, throw this down. Throw down a Whirling Blade for free, buff up on Mana Worm. There's certainly a nice series of plays we can get out next turn. Abusive Sergeant hits the table, buffs us up. Shadow of Death, very nice play there. Note that he buffed our minion to remove it with Death. I like that a lot. Very, very nice. But we can go for a Clockwork Gnome into the Blast Mage. Oh, Blast Mage, bring the pain. Bringing the sheer mana efficiency, bringing the sheer value. And that was just dropping the mech, throwing down the Blast Mage. Table clearance. Your move, Priest, your move. So, we've really struggled on the rush front here, but this is where hopefully our couple of later game cards that we've dropped in may make a difference. Echo of Medivh would do us a lot of good. Gurubashi Berserker, we know we're playing probably quite a new Priest here. So Micro Machine will hit the deck. We can get lots of mechs going. I want to be able to wreck this out the way and ideally a couple of turns tops. Okay, correct play order here. I can drop this for free. I can then drop into a Mana Worm. The Whirling Blades gives me that additional bit of attack that I so desire. Then I can trash this minion off the table. I'm going to sacrifice my Clockwork Gnome, but that's going to give me a spare part. And that spare part, my friends, I can also play for free as well. So I then have a choice between a Spider Tank and a Micro Machine. I'm going to go for the Micro Machine. I can pick something up with my Time Rewinder if I really want, and notice that now all of my spare part cards are free. Free to do whatever they like. Alrighty then, so we now have a Mech Yeti as well. I'm just going to go straight into the Yeti goodness and let's just get this charge going. Looks as though that this may well be GG in another turn. Fingers crossed, fingers crossed. There we go. So thank you so much for tuning in, folks. If you've been on YouTube or if you've been on Twitch, that was our intro to Mech Mage. We built the deck, played it in a couple of examples. We saw an amazing rush come out, but also how we suffered in the late game, and then we saw how with a few tweaks. But remember, we're playing in casual mode, so we're playing a whole different bunch of players. Thanks so much for tuning in. If you are on YouTube, look in the description below. Come and have a look at the original version. All credit to be Gibbler who put this together, and do come and join us again. If you're on YouTube, we're at twitch.tv/FailcraftCast, Monday through Friday, as you can see in the bottom left there. Look on @FailcraftCasts, like the YouTube URL on the left of the screen. On Twitter, you can find us there. We'll tweet when we're going to go live every single day. Sometimes daytime streams too. We do daytimes UK and also later evenings UK as well. So wherever you are in the world, you can always find us and tune in. Do not forget youtube.com/FailcraftCast as well. We also have a whole bunch of videos there. Subscribe, like, rate, comment. Let us know what we can do better. I just want to make more cool stuff for you. And the website failcraft.org. Some news, some other things that don't live so well in a video. A few new player links and resources as well. Thank you for tuning in. There's so much more Goblins vs Gnomes for us to come, including our Operation Legend. I'm going to try and legend it this month. So be prepared for a new series coming then. This is FailcraftCast. I've been Hammy. Take it easy.